Welcome to today's live stream. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to be talking about BlackRock, their Bitcoin spot ETF proposal. Take an opportunity to smash that like button. I'm going to give everybody time to join us on today's live stream, which we are streaming on both YouTube and Rumble. Speaking of Rumble, make sure you are subscribed over on my Rumble channel because I've been doing some exclusive content there. And also, if you can give me a 5x5 and let me know that you can hear me loud and clear. So I've been doing some research in regards to this Bitcoin ETF proposal from BlackRock. And there's a few things that I want to make people aware of. Kind of laying the groundwork for some future conversations that I plan on having with a variety of people in the crypto community to get their thoughts. All right, and before we begin, a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice TVX, Rice Crypto, who make it possible for me to do this full time. Shout out to Monarch and Presearch. You can always find information in every video description for both. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I greatly appreciate it. We've got 8 live viewers. The problem that I've been having a lot recently over the past few months has been shadow banning. A lot of people aren't aware of my videos when they're coming out. Let me know if you're getting notified. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel because the channel has had over 500 people unsubscribe since mid-April. So if you're subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, I would definitely encourage you to do so. So once again, I do appreciate everybody taking the time to tune in. I would greatly appreciate it if you would take an opportunity to smash that like button. Let's wake up the algorithm. Let's do what we can to get some other viewers in the house checking out today's live stream. So I'm going to be sharing some information about this BlackRock Bitcoin ETF proposal. And before we do that, what's something I want to let people know is I did say in the beginning that I was going to be planning on having more conversations with people in regards to BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity, the TradFi legacy system that's coming into the Bitcoin game with the spot ETFs. I wanted to get some people's perspective. And I did an interview a couple of days ago, in fact, 2 days ago, with the host of British Hodl. That video right now is available on my Patreon channel. I am going to be ending my Patreon, but I am going to do a quick screen share and share with you my new website. It's been revamped, redone, and that is ricetvx.com. And if you scroll down, you will see Rice Uncensored. Or right here, make sure you sign up for my mailing list if you haven't already. But Rice Uncensored is going to be replacing Patreon. It is a private website where you can access both Rice Crypto and Rice Against the Grain videos, get early access, unedited videos, no ads, exclusive content, a forum, live streaming. I could do live streaming on my own private website and more to come. Click join today. And I am offering up until the end of the month. Until the end of the month. Let me get this pulled up so you guys can see it. I thought I had it ready and available for everybody, so I apologize. Until the end of the month, you can get lifetime access to my private website. Otherwise, it's $7 a month to join. You will get the exclusive content, the early access, the forum, and more, all for $100. And if you're interested, you can email me at ricemediagroup@protonmail.com. And the interview that I did with British Hodl is available right now on ricuncensored.com, which you can find at ricetvx.com. So again, thank you for letting me take the opportunity to show my website so you can support my work and get access to everything behind the scenes. So everything that we're going to be talking about, I'm going to have linked down below in the video description. Don't have a lot of viewers, got one comment. Hector from Blockchain Trends, he did comment earlier. What's up, bro? Good seeing you. French Toaster, hola fam, thank you for tuning in. So we're going to try to keep this short and sweet. I'm not really going to be sharing a lot. I'm not going to be looking at the comments. I will be checking out the replay, and I will be checking out the comments after the video. Again, this is to lay groundwork for future conversations with other YouTubers, content creators, influencers, people that are actually in the cryptocurrency community, the space, work in the space, whatever the situation might be. These are conversations that need to be had to speculate on what this verbiage means. And I did cover this with British Hodl. And again, that is on Patreon. And you can also find it on ricetvx.com via Rice Uncensored. So there's two things in particular about this BlackRock ETF that I find very alarming. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. There's two specific pieces of verbiage or two topics of interest that we're going to be focusing on when it comes to this ETF proposal for Bitcoin when it comes to BlackRock. And this is BlackRock specifically. I haven't checked out Vanguard or any of the other entities' proposal as in depth as I have with this. I've been doing some research, and that's how I also came across British Hodl's YouTube channel. I've been checking out different things online in addition to video content, trying to get some different perspectives from some people about this because it is starting to be a little bit of a topic of conversation, although it's not an extremely popular one, but it's very interesting. So you can't really technically search on this. It doesn't really give you a search option, but this is the actual filing for the iShares Bitcoin Trust that's coming through BlackRock with the SEC. It's got its table of contents, goes into a, now this is what you get for, also, this is for clients as well. So there's all these risk assessments, all these different things that they cover in great detail. So I want to encourage you guys to make sure that you're checking this out in its entirety on your own. This is the table of contents, but the main things that I wanted to focus on were different areas of the risk factors, which we can find, I think, starting over on page 16, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just going to be scrolling down. Risk factors. Let's see here. Offerings. And the best way to do this, honestly, is to use the search function that is offered on your computer. So the title of the video is What the Fork is BlackRock's Endgame with Bitcoin. Well, fork, you can see, comes up one of 87 times. The trust may incur certain extraordinary non-recurring expenses that are not assumed by the sponsor, including but not limited to taxes and governmental charges, any applicable broker commission, financing fees, Bitcoin network fees, and similar transaction fees, expenses and costs of any extraordinary service performed by the sponsor. Now, a lot of this sounds very, very boring, and it's hard to kind of get past. But again, I'm making this video for a specific reason because there is a question as to what is BlackRock intending to do, or what have they set themselves up to be able to do with what they have put in with this language in regards to a fork when it comes to Bitcoin. So I want to go down to the next fork. And you see here, it says a temporary or permanent fork could adversely affect the value of shares. And we're talking about the shares of the ETF. More explanation to talking about forks when it goes into this aspect. And here's more information. And they've done their research. They're very, very understanding of what forks are, airdrops, and things to that effect, and they cover that in great detail on this very, very, very lengthy, very dry document. Okay, so scrolling down to the next fork. You can see here what they're talking about with respect to any fork, airdrop, or similar event. So they share some very interesting information. Now, we haven't got to the alarming verbiage yet. So I want to keep scrolling down till we get to that fork section. The acceptance of software patches or upgrades by a significant but not overwhelming percentage of the users and miners in a digital asset network such as the Bitcoin network could result in a fork in such networks blockchain, including Bitcoin blockchain, resulting in the operation of multiple several networks. It's kind of a definition of the fork. And again, this is all for the proposal for the Bitcoin ETF and also for their clients. Now, this is the crazy, alarming part, and there's more, but a temporary or permanent fork could adversely affect the value of the shares. And what it's talking about is a Bitcoin network operates using open source protocols, meaning that any user can download the software, modify it, and then propose that the users and miners of Bitcoin adopt the modification when the modification is introduced and a substantial majority of users and miners consent to the modification. The change is implemented and the network remains uninterrupted. However, if less than a substantial majority of users and miners consent to the proposed modification and the modification is not compatible with the software prior to its modification, the consequence would be known as a hard fork of the Bitcoin network. And they're talking about in August 17, Bitcoin forked into Bitcoin into a new asset, creating Bitcoin cash. As a result, over the several year dispute over how to increase the rate of transactions at the Bitcoin network process. And that's something I cover in interviews with people like Roger Ver, which is talking about the block size and what took place with the creation of the Bitcoin Cash hard fork. And then there's some more verbiage here when it's talking about airdrops in addition to forks. So it's talking about how you could be like airdropped something based off holding Bitcoin. And they were using an example with Stellar Lumens. Shareholders may not receive the benefits of any forks or airdrops, so they're letting you know that in advance. Let's keep going. This is all just kind of regular verbiage still. And let's see here. All right. In the event of a hard fork of the Bitcoin network, the sponsor will, if permitted by the terms of the agreement, use its discretion to determine which network should be considered the appropriate network for the trust's purposes, and in doing so may adversely affect the value of shares. So again, this is a risk assessment. I want to take an opportunity here and see how many viewers we got on screen. I do appreciate you guys taking the opportunity to view this live stream with me, and I would definitely encourage you, if you have not already, please take an opportunity to smash that like button. Shout out to Bar Rokba. I don't talk about that gentleman on this channel, and I really don't talk about that gentleman anymore. And he talks about creating crypto currencies, not Bitcoin. He's just an idiot, unfortunately. Crypto Cats, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you being here in the house. So as I continue on with reading, and this is all in this section right here. Excuse me. In the event of a hard fork of the Bitcoin network, the sponsor will, and let me go ahead and take this full screen because I think it might be easier for everybody to see. And yeah, that looks a lot better on screen. So let me go ahead and continue. In the event of a hard fork of the Bitcoin network, the sponsor will, as permitted by the terms of the trust agreement, use its sole discretion to determine in good faith which peer-to-peer network among a group of incomplete forks of the Bitcoin network is generally accepted as a Bitcoin network and should therefore be considered the appropriate network for the trust purposes, which means if there's a fork, BlackRock is going to choose which fork it deems to be Bitcoin. The sponsor will base its determination on whatever factors it deems relevant, including but not limited to the sponsor's beliefs regarding the expectations of the core developers of Bitcoin, users, services, businesses, miners, and other constituencies, as well as the actual continued acceptance of mining power on and community engagement with the Bitcoin network or whatever other factors it deems relevant. There is no guarantee that the sponsorship will choose a digital asset that is ultimately the most valuable fork. Again, there's no guarantee that BlackRock will choose the digital asset that is ultimately the most valuable fork. And the sponsor's decision may adversely affect the value of the shares as well. The sponsor may also disagree with the shareholders, the Bitcoin custodian, and other providers, the index administration, cryptocurrency exchanges, or other market participants on what is generally accepted as Bitcoin and should therefore be considered Bitcoin for the trust purposes, which may also adversely affect the value of the shares as a result. Again, the BlackRock may also disagree with shareholders, the Bitcoin custodian, which would be Coinbase in this instance, other service providers, the index administrator, the cryptocurrency exchanges, or other market participants on what is generally accepted as Bitcoin and should therefore be considered Bitcoin for the trust purposes. Now, they're also not really saying specifically that, are we talking about past forks, current forks, future forks, all forks? I think it's all the above. So as we continue, a hard fork could change the source code to the Bitcoin network, including the 21 million Bitcoin supply cap. So they're already mentioning ways of being able to increase the supply as a risk assessment in this proposal to their clients. In principle, a hard fork could change the source code for the Bitcoin network, including the source code, which limits the supply of Bitcoin to 21 million. Although many observers believe that it is unlikely at present, there's no guarantee that the current 21 million supply cap for outstanding Bitcoin, which is estimated to be reached by the approximate year of 2140, will not be changed. If a hard fork changes the 21 million supply cap is widely adopted, the limit of the supply of Bitcoin could be lifted, which could have an adverse impact on the value of Bitcoin and the value of shares. Very interesting. There's also some more risk factors when it talks about the global supply, decrease of demand, forks in the Bitcoin network. Let's continue on. Any name change in any associated rebranding initiative by core developers, users, or miners of Bitcoin or the Bitcoin network may not be favorably received by the digital asset community, which could negatively impact the value of Bitcoin and the value of the shares. From time to time, digital assets may undergo name changes and associated rebranding initiatives. For example, Bitcoin Cash may sometimes be referred to as Bitcoin ABC in effort to differentiate itself from any Bitcoin Cash hard fork, such as Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. And in the third quarter of 2018, the team behind Zen rebranded and changed the name of Zencash to Horizon. The sponsor cannot predict the impact of any name change and any associated rebranding. So they're kind of going into rebranding verbiage there. Now, continuing on. This is, again, where they're talking about the supply and competition from emergence of growth. This is not what I was looking for. Continue going down. We're at 54 of 87 forks. The treatment of trust for federal income tax purposes. Believe me, there's some more alarming verbiage in here, and this is why I'm making this video for people to pay attention to, for some other individuals to watch, and to lay the groundwork for these future conversations. Okay, so they're talking about tax liabilities and all that kind of stuff. Limits on the Bitcoin supply. Again, for further information, see the risk factors where they're talking about a hard fork could change the source code in the Bitcoin network, including the 21 million Bitcoin. Now, I mean, in this instance, they could choose any fork of Bitcoin as being the Bitcoin. And I mean, again, they've done some great research because they're even talking about like 51% attacks and how they've taken place and different ways to attack the network. They could go with an old fork. They could create their own fork. They could pay the Bitcoin developers. That's the thing, is the Bitcoin core developers really don't get paid to develop on Bitcoin. Just so you know that. And I'll repeat, The Bitcoin core developers do not get paid to develop on Bitcoin. So entities like Blockstream can pay them to work on solutions like liquid sidechain that they can profit off of. And then the Lightning Labs through the Lightning Network can hire Bitcoin core developers and pay them money to develop the Lightning Network. But no one actually pays for the development of Bitcoin. Now, there are some grants and some things out there that some people have put together on a private level to try to assist and help these individuals. But with that being said, if BlackRock was to offer the right core developers, the right amount of core developers, the right amount of money, people always have a price. So I'm speculating here, but BlackRock could try to. Now, I would like to say that the proof of stake argument is out the window, because right now we're seeing a lot of positive news coming out about Bitcoin and being ESG friendly. And this fits within the narrative of the ETF, BlackRock, and what BlackRock is doing with ESG. And this is something that me and British Hodl talk about. That interview is going to be coming out publicly on Monday, but again, you can watch it on ricetvx.com, riceuncensored.com. Join up, or on my Patreon. Patreon, I'm going to be ending in a few months, but it's a convenient way for people to check things out. So in addition to creating their own fork, their own green Bitcoin, their own ESG friendly Bitcoin, again, they've set this narrative, but they can always flip it out. They can always flip it. But at the same time, I do have to admit that BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity, they're all investing in Bitcoin miners and mining companies, crypto mining and such. So they definitely understand the game. They were actually talking about all the different forks that had taken place. And I want to continue scrolling down because I'm looking for some specific verbiage. I should have taken note of which numbers they were, and I apologize. But I wanted to also show you how many times this word was being used. Sponsors role, key personnel to the sponsors. I might have missed what I was looking for. Yeah, I may have to search for another word here in a minute, but I'll see if I can find it. Okay. And again, if you guys haven't taken an opportunity to smash that like button, I greatly appreciate it. Let me see here. Undermine. Okay, I think this might be part of it. No, that's talking about FTX and a few other things. Okay. Potential amendments to the Bitcoin network's protocol and software could, if accepted and authorized by the Bitcoin network community, adversely affect an investment in the trust. The Bitcoin network uses a cryptographic protocol to govern the interactions within the Bitcoin network. A loose community known as the core developers has evolved to informally manage the source code for the protocol. Membership in this community of core developers evolve over time, largely based on self-determined participation in the resource section dedicated to Bitcoin on github.com. The core developers can propose amendments to the Bitcoin network's source code that, if accepted by miners and users, could alter the protocols and software of the Bitcoin network and the properties of Bitcoin. These alterations would occur through software upgrades and could potentially include changes in the irreversibility of transactions and the limitation of the mining of new Bitcoin, and could undermine the appeal and market value of Bitcoin. Alternately, so this wasn't what I was looking for. Bitcoin developers. And let's see, public. See if that's going to help me with anything here. 88, that's not good. where was that verbiage that they had used? Basically, they're the thing that I'm looking for is talking about the fact that regardless of what takes place, that if it it may adversely affect shares, but it could also affect the confidence. That might be what I'm looking for. Confidence of the people when it comes to Bitcoin. No, I did look up confidence, but let me see here. Confidence. This is FTX risk assessment. Um, okay, that's not it. Let's keep going. As you can see, this is a very, very long document as well. It is not the easiest thing to even attempt to try to read. Right. And there is another thing that I wanted to bring up. There is one more alarming thing, or not necessarily alarming, but one more thing that we definitely need to pay attention to. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in for today's video. I did set it up last night, so I did a little bit of promoting on social media, but YouTube has not been doing a great job of notifying people. And again, if you have been subscribed to the channel, make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. A lot of people have been unsubscribed. In fact, over 500 people have been unsubscribed since April, mid-April. Maybe confidence wasn't the right word that I'm looking for, but is there a word for is there public confidence? Yes. Okay, and so this goes back to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, and I think this is gonna be the same place. Yep, loss of confidence. Okay, so here we go. So this is very interesting. Now, this is the next part. So the fork part is something that I encourage you guys to read in more detail. I wanted to bring some attention to you about the fact that there's been a lot of verbiage put in there about changes to the network, changes to the supply, forks as to what BlackRock is going to choose. Doesn't matter about the value, doesn't matter if they undermine public confidence. And here we go with the next thing I wanted to bring your attention, and I have some articles to back this up. And this is something that I'm going to be diving a little bit more into. Furthermore, legal claims have been filed in the United Kingdom by an entity associated with an individual named Craig Wright. Let me go ahead and take this back full screen. All right. Coming back over here. The entity alleges that the private keys to Bitcoin purportedly worth several $billions were rendered inaccessible to a hack, and advances a series of novel legal theories in support of its request that the court compel certain core developers associated with the Bitcoin network to either somehow transfer the Bitcoin out of the Bitcoin address to which the entity no longer can access the private keys to a new Bitcoin address that it currently does control, or alternatively, amend the source code to the Bitcoin network itself to restore its access to the stranded Bitcoin. In 2022, the High Court dismissed the claims, finding that the entity had not established a serious issue to be tried. However, in February 2023, the Court of Appeals unanimously overruled the High Court's decision, holding that there was a serious issue to be tried. If a court decides to grant the relief requested, it is possible that wide-ranging and fundamental changes to the source code, operations, and governance of and basic principles underlying the Bitcoin network might be required, and a loss of public confidence in the Bitcoin network could result. Alternatively, Bitcoin could face obstacles to use or in the United Kingdom, which could reduce adoption. Courts in other jurisdictions could take similar positions. These or other possible outcomes could lead to decrease in the value of Bitcoin, which could negatively impact the value of the shares. So what we got going on is, and these are linked down below. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about these things. This is just stuff for you to do a little bit more research in regards to this and have a little bit more understanding. We have COPA, that is the Crypto Open Patent Alliance. They are suing Craig Wright. And COPA is a lot of entities in the cryptocurrency space. Let me see if it has the members to give you an idea. Now scroll here, you can see like Coinbase, Block Meta, MicroStrategy, ARC, BitPay, Blockstream, Kraken, Chia, Lisk, OKCoin, Satoshi Labs, Stacks, Uniswap, Zen Ledger. These are all entities that are part of COPA, the Crypto Open Patent Society, Crypto Open Patent Alliance. Otherwise, it'd be COPS. This is a NASDAQ article that was reported originally in Bitcoin Magazine. It was from April 12, 2021. COPA suing Craig Wright over Bitcoin white paper claims. The Cryptocurrency Open Patent Alliance has announced that it's suing Craig Wright over his Bitcoin white paper copyright claims. COPA has announced that it has initiated a lawsuit to declare that Craig Wright does not have the copyright ownership over the Bitcoin white paper. So, earlier this year, lawyers representing Wright demanded that some of those hosting the paper take it down because he had won. Let me go ahead and start from here. Today, COPA initiated a lawsuit against the UK High Court to declare that Mr. Craig Wright does not have the copyright ownership over the Bitcoin white paper, along with the image of the High Court claim form. Earlier this year, lawyers representing Wright demanded that some of those hosting the paper take it down, as Wright is the real person behind Bitcoin pseudonymous creator Satoshi Nakamoto, and publicly hosting it violates his copyright. Bitcoin core developers initially removed the white paper from bitcoin.org, for instance, for fear of legal retribution. The Bitcoin white paper was included in the original Bitcoin project files, with the project clearly published under the MIT license by Satoshi Nakamoto, according to a follow-up statement from bitcoin.org. Upon re-hosting the paper, we believe there is no doubt we have the legal right to host the Bitcoin white paper. So they're suing Craig Wright. COPA is. Here is some information from the England and Wales High Court, the Chancery Division. This was the one that was overturned unanimously. And there's also an article here about, this comes from June 16th, 2023, Craig Wright passing off cases postponed pending COPA versus Wright outcomes. So he's got a lot of court cases. He's suing a lot of people. There's a lot of litigation going on, but he's delaying it all. A decision was made at a court management conference before Judge James Mellor at the UK High Court of Justice on Thursday on how best to definitively settle the issue of whether Dr. Craig Wright is Satoshi Nakamoto, at least for Wright's passing off cases and COPA versus Wright. Judge Mellor ruled that several passing off cases were brought by Dr. Wright will be postponed until after COPA versus Wright, set in January, this coming January. Okay, so we're months away, with some defendants agreeing to be bound by the outcome of the COPA trial and others agreeing to take part in a preliminary single issue trial on whether Dr. Craig Wright is Satoshi. So some of these entities are going to be waiting for the outcome of the COPA trial, and they're going to be bound to those agreements based off however that takes place. So you can read more into this. I'm not saying Craig Wright is Satoshi Nakamoto, and this is only dealing with the UK. But if he was to win, it would set a precedent. And that's something that people need to put in perspective, is that if he was to win in the UK, It could set a precedent, and other courts and other jurisdictions could do the same thing. Um, and the next article was from July 7th. COPA delays the Craig Wright Bitcoin white paper trial until 2024. And that puts us at the beginning of 2024, which is January 2024. Parties were scheduled to meet with the deputy last week for a long-awaited case management conference, which would have kickstarted the slow roll towards trial. However, the day before the conference was due to take place, Copa's lawyers, Bird and Bird, wrote to the deputy master asking him to recuse himself, though the order doesn't specify the reasons given. He is employed by Baker McKenzie, who have acted for in-chain in the past, which may be the reason for the request. That would be obviously a conflict of interest on the part of the deputy master if they have represented in-chain. In-chain is the company that Craig Wright has or is part of or has started. It's funded by Calvin Ayers. I'm going to be bringing on Kurt Wuckert again. He writes with CoinGeek. He's very familiar. He's friends with Craig Wright. So I'm going to try to get the perspective of some people from the BSV community when it comes to this. And I'm going to try to get some perspective from others as well. But this fork information, again, I found to be very, very alarming. What they're setting up in the verbiage, what it allows for BlackRock to ultimately do, um, and how it could adversely affect Bitcoin itself. So I'm not saying that BlackRock is coming into this with the intention of turning Bitcoin into a proof of stake system, turning it into a green Bitcoin. I'm not saying that because BlackRock has the power to tell and influence media and other reporting agencies to talk about and give documentation about Bitcoin being ESG friendly, because the narrative of Bitcoin using too much power and it being bad for the planet was a bullshit narrative. But it was a narrative that was put out to also keep pushing down and put negativity out there when it came to Bitcoin to keep the price down so that these institutions could scoop them up at a lower price. Just like in 2017, I believe is when it was. It was either 2017 or 2018. And now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember which one. It's 2017 or 2018. Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan came out and was talking negatively about Bitcoin, talking negatively about anybody who worked for JP Morgan owning Bitcoin would get fired, trading Bitcoin would get fired, trading crypto would get fired. But in the meantime, while talking negatively about Bitcoin, Chase Bank, owned by JP Morgan, was buying Bitcoin. So this is how the TradFi legacy system works. They're going to talk negatively until it doesn't benefit them anymore. And then now they're going to flip the narrative. So this is why I'm saying we need to have more conversations in regards to this, because there's a lot of different things that this could lead to. This could be just nothing, completely nothing at all. And Bitcoin will remain Bitcoin as it is, and it will be an ETF instrument used by TradFi, which me and British Hodl covered that in great length. And that interview, again, will be coming out Monday publicly, and you can check it out otherwise on the private website. Or it is potentially possible that maybe BlackRock has other plans, and that could be to say that a past fork is the real Bitcoin. And there's plenty of forks: Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, plenty of forks to choose from. But there's only a few that I think that they would choose if that was the instance. They could create their own hard fork. They could split the Bitcoin network and say, this is Bitcoin. And again, BlackRock, they have already said that whether or not the crypto community, the exchanges, any of these entities agree with them or not, they will make the decision that they want to make, and that will be Bitcoin for the purposes of their trust. And when you look at how much assets that BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and all these entities are in charge of, and how much they're actually dealing with, how much trillions and trillions of dollars it would be real easy for these entities to start buying up these Bitcoin core developers. Or it's always possibility of making people disappear. So I do hope you found value in today's video. Bernard Macarius, thanks for tuning in. Trying to read what you got going on here. If you're really familiar with this stuff, you feel free to email me some information. My email is in the video description of all my videos. IMJ, thanks for tuning in. Saying, I think they will stick with standard Bitcoin and then create a fork down the road to initiate a second ETF product. And that's very well possible. That's very well possible. I think that BlackRock is looking at an Ethereum ETF. I think Fidelity is talking about an Ethereum ETF as well as like an Ethereum basket ETF. And I haven't looked into a lot of details with that. But if you just go through and you pull up the proposal that's put in for iShares Trust, I think I got that right. Let me just pull this back up to the top. And this is linked down below in the video description. iShares Delaware Trust sponsor, yes, through BlackRock. All the information's here. It's all spelled out. I definitely encourage you to take an opportunity to check it out. I'm going to be sharing, again, more information in regards to this, having more conversations in regards to this fork verbiage. And then I'm going to be diving into this Copa versus Craig Wright and see if there's going to be like anything that people actually need to pay attention to. Because if Craig Wright is to be successful in this particular instance in the UK, then no other entity aside from Craig Wright would be able to use the name Bitcoin. And that could set a precedence for other courts and legal systems and jurisdictions around the world. I do have a link for all the other articles that I shared as well, and I definitely encourage you to take an opportunity to check those out. If you're not subscribed, make sure you are subscribed, and I do appreciate you once again for joining. Smash that like button. It'd be greatly appreciated. And I also want to remind everybody that I've got lots of exclusive content that I've been posting over on my Rumble channel, which I am live streaming on Rumble, and I appreciate everybody who's watching on the Rumble side, which is greatly appreciated. There might be more. I don't know if the number of viewers from Rumble translates in what I see for the viewers on the live stream because of the way that I had to connect through StreamYard. But I do appreciate you guys. So I want to do a quick screen share, pull up my Rumble so you guys can see this. I did some videos. Don't even really want to mention the name of these videos because not on this channel, because I've had so much problems with the censorship and shadow banning. Saying certain things could just be the end of the channel. So you see these two videos. There's a part 1 and a part 2. They're both 2.5 hours long. Me and my friend Stan Barabbas, aka Bodhisattva Love, covered some information in regards to what we experienced in 2020 up to today and what's around the corner. He provides some very, very, very detailed information and evidence to back up what we talk about. And I definitely encourage you to take an opportunity to head over and check out those videos. They're also on my Odyssey channel, and they're also on my BitChute channel, but we actually did the live streams directly on Rumble. I also have another YouTube channel where all the Stranger Than Fiction style content, where covering the legal fiction, law, hidden and alternative history, spirituality, and everything else that we cover. You can find that on Rice Against the Grain. And you can find links for all of this, on ricetvx.com. And if you scroll down below the Rice, joining Rice Uncensored, you can actually watch the latest episodes from both of my channels directly on my website. And again, if you join Rice Uncensored, you get access to the private side of Rice, Uncensored Rice, access to both channels, early access to videos, exclusive content, forum, live streams, and a whole lot more. It's a way you can support the channel. I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in for today's video. Do hope it was educational, and I hope you guys found some information out of this, and I hope that it helps to create a conversation. And if there's anything that you have found on your research in regards to this, your thoughts, please comment down below in the video after the video, this live stream ends. Comment and let me know what you think. What do you think BlackRock's intent is with Bitcoin? What is their end game? Because when you look at what's going on with all these Bitcoin ETFs, the Hunger Games for Bitcoin are here. So thank you again for taking the opportunity to tune in. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're still subscribed. And I'll leave you with a little positivity this weekend. I encourage you, as always, to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in this matrix. Be the change that you want to see in the world. And until next time, practice change. Much love. Touch grass.